What's going on, guys? This is going to be a video on medical school interview tips, and the reason why I wanted to make this video was because I've gone on many interviews and I could not find any videos on YouTube that were specific enough for medical school, and the ones that were titled medical school interview tips, I feel like it wasn't very specific. It was just like more so like just a hand wave general advice and tips. So I didn't really like that. So I figured that as I go through my interview process, I was just gonna write down what I did right, what I did wrong, and then just kind of like document it and make a video about it so that I could help out you guys and whoever else watches this video. So let's just get started. Weeks before, so let's say you get an interview invite and you have an interview in 3 to 6 weeks out. So once you have an interview invite, you should know that they like you, obviously, right? Because each school gets anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 applications, and they only interview about 750 to 1,000 applicants, right? The fact that they picked you, that speaks volumes about your application. I'll say that as soon as you have an interview and you go for the interview, you have practically a 50% chance of getting in. So you need to be very ready and prepare just like you're preparing for the MCAT. One thing you need to do is make sure you read the school's mission statement and the vision. They may not ask you directly why you think you're aligned with the mission or what do you think about the vision, but they may ask you other questions. For example, they may ask you, why do you want to be a doctor? If you could somehow nest it with the mission statement and the vision, then that will really work well for your chance of getting into that school. So definitely read the mission statement and the vision of that school and read it multiple times. Like almost have it memorized, but not memorized, because you don't need to memorize it, but have a good idea of what it talks about. Then read everything and anything on their website. Literally, like every single tab, every single link that website has, read it. Some schools have very, very in-depth websites, especially if they're pretty old, and some newer schools don't have much, but I will say allocate at least a day to 2 days to just look over that website many times and just know everything about that school that you possibly can by researching their website. Little tip: read the frequently asked questions. You will learn a lot from that itself. Things were to the point and it was very helpful. So definitely read the FAQ section, the frequently asked questions. Fourth, read your own primary application and secondary application multiple times. There's a reason why they picked you, because they like your application. You want to know everything that you wrote down on your primary and secondary application, and you want to present that in the interview. You want to speak in that sort of tone because that's what they liked, and that's how you want to present yourself in the interview. Also, on top of that, everything that you talked about on your applications, you should be able to explain everything. So let's say you did volunteering at a food bank. Explain what you did in the food bank, what were your roles, your responsibilities, who was in charge of you, the dates, everything and anything. On top of that, know your grades. You'll very likely be asked if you had any W's or anything below a C+. So explain why that happened and have a good reason why you're deficient in that part of your application. So know your application inside out. I guarantee you that there'll be some question, very likely, about your application. Next, watch YouTube videos. So on top of doing research on the website, I'll also just do a little YouTube search on that school and see what they have. So very likely they'll have like a little orientation of the school itself. Like that's awesome because you're seeing the school that you're about to go to for the interview. It just kind of like helps you more to not be as nervous because you kind of know what the school looks like, what the rooms look like. And also like it's just good to learn more about the school by listening to people on top of you doing your research and reading the website. If you are attending an interview that is MMI style, MMI stands for multiple mini interviews, then I am going to put a link to some interview playlists for MMIs in the description box below, because I did have to attend 2 MMI interviews and I think that those playlists helped a lot. I'm not going to recreate those videos, so you guys could just click on that and just watch those videos. It is free, obviously, it's on YouTube, so you guys can do that. Next, you should know how to answer some common questions like, why do you want to be a doctor? Why this school? When have you failed? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Like those kind of things, right? So I'm going to put in a link down below. It's a website with 95 different questions. If you know how to answer every single one of those questions, you'll be okay. And that's exactly what I did. So in my interview, literally there was no question that I could not answer. Like, I did not memorize anything, but because I had somewhat rehearsed the questions, those 95 questions, I didn't have to think on the spot, really. I kind of like had in my mind what I was gonna say, and all your answers need to be anecdotal. So you want to somewhat use like different anecdotes with your answers so that you seem like a more well-rounded person versus you just using that one anecdote when you saved a puppy from a fire or something. When you do rehearse, especially with those questions, you want to talk to yourself out loud, okay? It is not enough to just talk internally. You want to talk it out loud, if it's possible, in front of someone else, but at the least by yourself. For me, myself, since I was working full-time, I didn't really have the chance to do mock interviews, so I just kind of rehearsed by myself. I just self-talked, but that helps a lot because you want to kind of like hear what your answers sound like, and I promise you, you'll catch a lot of errors and just a lot of things that just doesn't sound good. So you want to talk out loud and just make it work, make it jive. And you'll find that you'll be able to find the most efficient way to get across your message and be able to articulate efficiently. And you want to do it several times because you may think that you got it down, but then like an hour later, you cannot recreate that answer. So you want to do it several times leading up to the interview. I'll say in the car ride, let's say you're driving to the interview, if you have a long car ride there, or just whenever you're driving by yourself, I think it's a great time to do it. That's what I was doing. And with your answers, make it not mundane. Don't make it boring. Almost make it somewhat emotional, because as human beings, we are emotional creatures. You want to give your answers that seem very genuine and from the heart. It should not be like very robotic, because the medical profession is not a robotic profession, right? You're talking to people and you're dealing with some very emotional matters. So when you answer your questions, you have to show emotion, because that comes off as more genuine and more profound. But with that being said, like, you don't have to make everything emotional, but some questions like, why do you want to be a doctor, right? I think that answer should be somewhat emotional. It could be a good emotion or a bad emotion, but it should be something deeper than just a factual answer. And last tip for weeks before the interview, I'll say just dating. This is kind of like a strange tip, but I think dating really helps with interviewing skills, because if you think about it, like when you're dating someone for the first time, you don't know that person, they are a stranger, and it's like awkward, but in a way you are selling yourself, and that's what interviewing is like. So I think the more dates you go on, the easier it gets to interview. That's just kind of like what I faced, and I think it really does help. I actually got this tip from one of the other shows that I watch, Bigger Pockets, the real estate investor. He was talking about that. I think it's very true. I think it is very true. It really does help with interviewing. I will tell you this, my first interview, I was definitely very nervous, but then as soon as the interview started, all those nerves, like, they just went away, and my interview went very, very well, and I got my acceptance within 4 days. With that being said, if you are in a relationship, tell your partner that you need this to like get into med school. Do what you think is right. One thing I do want to mention is anytime you're watching videos on YouTube that is concerning interviewing for medical school or for that school, add it to a playlist. And as you are doing mundane activities like doing dishes or folding your laundry, driving, just keep watching those videos over and over again. I could drop my playlist below so you guys could see what I had in my playlist, but I think that will help a lot too, so that you don't forget things, because a lot of the times you're weeks out from an interview, so you will forget things. So you want to keep refreshing memory with all that tips, advice, knowledge piece. So now let's move on to the day before the interview. Try to go alone, because I think when you're by yourself, it is all about yourself. If you're with other people, even though they are not trying to do this, you'll get distracted. Go alone, just focus on the interview. Like, tell your friends, tell your family members that, hey, you'll be busy for the next couple days and prep for the interview and traveling to the interview. So just to kind of like leave you alone so that you can just completely immerse yourself in this. You do the same thing for MCAT. Treat the interview like your MCAT, because this is literally the last hurdle for you to get into med school. So you definitely want to be at the location the day before the interview. Do not get there the day of. Be there the day before. Literally just drive to the building and just scope the place out. See where it's at, where's parking, and those kind of things, because on the day of, you don't want that stress of maybe I will not find this place because there's construction going on. The roads like have detours or something like that. So go the day before and scope the place out for sure. Like, that is highly, highly recommended. What to wear, I could only tell you about what I wore. I don't know about what women wear, but obviously wear a suit and make it dark. This might be like a given, but like no joke, I have seen people in medical school interviews without a suit. Like I've seen people wear shorts, jeans, khaki pants. The khaki pants, it's not too unprofessional. It is business casual. It is not a professional attire. You want to wear a suit. Wear a suit, otherwise you will stand out. Wear a suit, make it dark. For your tie, make it dark because a dark tie just suits better for this professional interview style. A lighter tie, it's more for like a casual environment, so do that. I'll recommend blue, like a blue tie with like a white shirt. You cannot go wrong with that, but with a blue tie, don't make it light blue, make it like a darker blue. I would not do red because I think red is more of like a power statement, like you're attracting all the attention to your tie. That's more for like CEOs and presidents. You're not at that level right now. You are a interviewee about to be a student, so don't wear red. Definitely wear a watch. I think one that looks good because that's an accessory, right? And also I think it just gives this implied message that you care about being punctual. You are responsible, and just make sure that your watch strap, the color of it, matches with your belt strap, and that matches with your shoe color. So let's say you have a black watch on, then the black watch is going to match with your black belt, and that's going to match with your black shoes. Comb your hair. Again, I'm saying some very obvious things, but I've seen people literally like they had bed hair. So definitely comb your hair, and if you want, you can also use pomade. I use pomade, and I think it gives you a very professional look. Definitely consider it. The day before, definitely wear your entire suit just to make sure that everything is good to go, because a lot of the times you may have forgotten like a pair of socks or shoes or something, belt. So just as a rehearsal, the day before, just wear everything that you would wear the next day. Also, the day before or the night before, you want to eat early and something not too heavy. The last thing you want is to eat something heavy or spicy or something and have an upset stomach or just be bloated in the morning. You don't want that. For me personally, I was eating anywhere between 5 and 6, and I was going to bed by like 8:30 and 9. That is my usual schedule, so it was easier for me, but I would try to make that because like a lot of the interviews, they are at 7:30 right in the morning. So I was getting up by 5 to 5:30. And I woke up not feeling bloated. I was ready. I ate breakfast and I was ready to go. So just something for you to consider. The day before, I would reread your application and your primary and your secondary, and also go over all the common questions with 95 questions that I was talking about. Again, lastly, go to bed early. Do not be up all night drinking, partying, watching movies. Just go to bed. Try for anywhere between 8:30 and 9. That should do you good. If you can't fall asleep, maybe try some ZQL. That helps. Again, like treat this like this your MCAT exam. Exactly what you did, that stress that you had, use that stress in a good way and make it work for you. All right, now let's move on to the day of the interview. For me personally, I like to meditate and I also like to drink coffee, but coffee does make you more jittery, and if you're nervous, it is just going to amplify your nervousness. All right, no matter how calm of a person you are, you will be nervous on your interview day, especially if it is your first interview. So you do not want to exasperate that with coffee. So if you drink coffee every single day, it's fine. Drink your coffee. You do not want to get a headache, but do not drink so much that you're just so nervous that you cannot even speak. On top of that, I like to meditate. So let's say I have to be at the door at 7:30. I would show up at 7 at the school, and I would just park somewhat far, and I would just meditate in the car for like 10 to 15 minutes. And I think that really helps to calm your mind down, to get your mind ready to be able to perform well on this interview day. I would recommend just go on YouTube and just type in guided meditation. And they have many 10, 15, 20 minute videos, and I would just put that on in your car and just meditate. You want to show up 5 to 10 minutes early and just socialize. So let's say you have to be there by 7:30. I would show up at 7:20 or so, and they'll let you sign in. Sign in and just go in and just talk to people that are there. It's going to help you calm your nerves down. You may not think that you're getting assessed, but people are still looking at you. Maybe they're not writing it down, but if they see that you're able to talk to people, it's a good sign that, okay, this interviewee is okay. He's a cool guy or a cool gal. You do not want to be that person who goes into a room and just does not talk to anyone. It's super awkward, very antisocial, because that is not a good sign of a future doctor. All right. So I would go early and just talk to people, just have a conversation, have a dialogue. So just go in there, make friends when you get there, and I think it will just make your mood better, and it will just give you a better interview in general. When you're there, anyone that you meet, you want to smile. You want to smile. You do not want to have like a very stern face. Smile every time you handshake. Give a firm handshake. Make it a conscious effort that it is a firm handshake. That just exudes confidence. They will say their name, and when you say your name, say it with confidence. And when they say their name back, because that shows that you actually listen. A lot of the times people, exchange names and no one is listening to what the other person said. When you actually do and you say their name back, it says that you're calm, poised, and you're actually listening and you're cognizant of what's going on. So for example, let's say I meet a person named John. So let's say he says, "Hey man, I'm John." I'll say, "John, nice to meet you. I am British." It is okay to be nervous. Everybody's nervous. The interviewers, they know that you're nervous. So just accept it. Don't think that this is uncommon or this is weird. If you just accept that everyone is nervous and everyone knows that you're nervous, I think it will just somehow make you less nervous. So just accept it and know that they will not gig you on the fact that you're nervous. Like they won't be like, "Oh, we will not accept this person because he was so nervous." No, they will not do that. Next, you want to make eye contact, especially when you're talking to the interviewer, because eye contact shows that you're not trying to hide something, you're being open. With that being said, you don't need to look in the interviewer or interviewer's eyes the entire time. You can look down a little bit, but do not be looking down the entire time. You want to look down, collect your thoughts, then look back up and look in their eyes and kind of share the attention. But you definitely want to make eye contact. Next, this is especially for your MMIs. There will be at least one station where they will try to piss you off or they will try to annoy you. So my best advice for you is don't lose your cool. That's what they're trying to see. They're trying to assess if you're trying to freak out or get too frustrated and show it. Just be calm and understand that this is just a gameism that you just have to play. So in general, every single interview is very relaxed because they just want to see who you truly are, and they are able to achieve that by making it relaxed so that you could answer it properly. But if you run into a station where you could tell that the interviewer is trying to get you, just understand that it's just a game. Okay? They just want to see how you react to it. So just learn that. Another one, drink water every chance you get during the MMI. In between stations, you'll have I believe it was 2 minutes of break. So if you can, just get a sip of water. One, it helps you lubricate your mouth so that you could talk better. And also it just helps you calm your nerves down. Also, I don't know about you guys, but if I don't drink water for a while, I get a headache. So for me especially, I need to drink water every chance I get. So just give that a shot. Again, depends on if this is your first interview or your second interview. Let's say you go to an interview and this is your third or fourth interview and you have already been accepted to a medical school. Don't talk about that. Don't show off that you've been accepted to a medical school so you don't really care about this medical school. Don't do that. Do not do that, because they'll just wonder why is this guy even here? He does not really want to be here. And they'll just reject you right away. So don't do that. Keep that to yourself. Then next, this is mostly for MMIs and also for sometimes when you have multiple interviewees with one interviewer. Don't be a gunner. When the interviewer asks you a question and you have other interviewees with you interviewing, don't be the first person to ask or to answer the question every single time. Yes, you could do it once, twice, 3 times. Do not be that guy who's doing it every single time, because interviewers are trying to spot out the gunners, okay? And if you don't know what a gunner is someone who's somewhat selfish, who cares about only themselves, and they don't really want to help anyone else out, and they don't really care if anyone else succeeds. Medical school and the medical profession and life in general is a team effort. So if you are a gunner, no one likes that, and the interviewer will not like you. So do not be that guy. At the end of the interview, the interviewer is going to ask you, do you have any questions? Your answer always is, yes, I have questions. And you want to ask questions as if you are already accepted to that school. So you want to ask questions like, okay, so in my 3rd year, when I go for these co-rotations in this area of the state, where do I live? And they will say whatever, and then follow that response with another question. So show that you are very interested in the school and very interested in their responses. And I'll give you some examples in the description box below, but it doesn't have to be many questions. It should be, I'll say 4 to 5 questions, and you should be following up their responses with other questions to show that you are very, very invested and interested in this school particularly. And lastly, once you're done with the interview day, just go home and relax. You had heck of a day. You don't want to do anything after that. Yes, the interview might not be more than an hour, 2 hours max if it's MMI. You have so many other things also going on that day. You have many briefings from the dean, from the academic support, all this stuff. and then you have a campus tour. So by the time the whole day is done, you have spent 6 or 7 hours trying to be the best self that you can be. So you'll be exhausted by end of the day. So just go home and relax after that. The day after or 2 days after, you want to send a thank you letter. And I will give you an example of a thank you letter in the description box below. But with that being said, you do not want to do a thank you letter to the MMI people because you'll have so many interviewers in MMIs, you just cannot do that. Or you'll have like 10. That makes no sense. If you have 1 interviewer or 2 interviewers, like most medical schools are still here in the US, you should definitely send them a thank you letter. And I'll show you a sample down below so you know how to format it and what you should talk about in that letter. And that is pretty much all the notes that I have for interviewing and interview tips. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Please like, share, and subscribe. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you guys and good luck. You guys got this.